Lazy Girl Tries It episode talking about DIY fragrance, and today it's a collaboration with OoLaLab. I have here with me Terry Jacobson, the founder and CEO, I might add, of OoLaLab, and we'll just be talking about how to create your own fragrance as well as certain myths that we commonly have. So hi Terry, welcome to the channel.
Hi everyone.
So today we're here to talk about DIY fragrances, and for a start I just want to talk about how you came to this industry in terms of creating fragrance and just what your personal story is.
Okay, sure. Well, in a nutshell, I've been in the fragrance industry for over 10 years, and my specialty was largely designing and working with brands to create fragrances for experiences, specifically around brands who are largely in hospitality and retail, some you might know from Singapore. And it was really that passion that I had in the exchanges with people in those meetings on a day-to-day basis that I realized there was just such a strong emotional connection between people and fragrance, whether they knew a lot about it or they knew a little about it. It's such an instinctive thing, and I just realized there was no significant platform out there that was allowing people to just, in a way, go wild and experiment and really discover all these wonderful things that come about with fragrance, both in the knowledge of the ingredients and how to put them together.
That's really, really interesting. So regarding the brand, basically, I believe you transitioned from a previous career into this. How did this brand come about, and what inspired you to create a brand of your own?
Well, I wouldn't say I've transitioned. I think it's very much the same career. I just think I've shifted my emphasis in a way, and this is a real passion project. Started that way and still is. So, but my inspiration, whether it was working with brands in a B2B sense or more with OoLaLab in a what you'd call a consumer sense, is passion for fragrance, and also a passion for the human condition of what we call smelling and how we experience the beautiful smells in the world around us.
That's amazing. Why the name OoLaLab?
Well, I think as with any creative process, you need to go down a road and try a few different things. But I think there's a few reasons for OoLaLab. I mean, one of them, of course, it just makes me happy when I say it. It just rolls off the tongue. And so for me, it's a happy word. But of course, if you look into it, there's reference to French, which is obviously the historical or the heritage home of fine fragrance. And also, of course, what the word means is this exclamation of joy, exclamation of happiness. And so Oola is that for us. It's this exclamation of joy, or chemistry of emotion, as we call it. And just from a brand aesthetic, it really worked out how everything is then associated with a chemistry lab sort of aesthetic, and you find obviously the logo in that tabulated format. But so there is also a little bit of an interesting contradiction in there, because it's Oola is an exclamation of joy, but in a way, the way the brand is laid out is very sort of aesthetically exactly. So I think it's an interesting kind of dynamic that we put out with it.
Yeah, so that's really, really great. I will definitely be speaking to you a lot more, but we're heading into the part where we're all really excited about doing your own fragrance. Basically, there are certain workshops that OoLaLab conducts, as well as different kind of services. So today we'll be doing a make your own fragrance sort of a process, and let's just get into it.
Alright, to start off with, what you want to do is fill in the worksheet, which someone will walk you through, but you just basically fill in your preferences in terms of the style that you like for fragrances, and after which you will go through picking out different notes. What you see in front are the different fragrances or notes available at OoLaLab, and basically what you're expected to do is to choose your base, middle and top notes corresponding to the varying degrees of how the kind of fragrance will wear off throughout the day. And this is how you just experience the scent, which is super cool, because typically we are accustomed to finding things that suit our inverted commas style, but at the end of the day, it really is how you feel when you smell the actual scent, which is really, really cool. You get 2 vials at the end to do a trial test, and at the second you get to finalize which of the 2 vials that you actually want, and there's a specific ratio that you should adhere to, and they will brief you through that. And the final quantity is a 50 ml bottle, so you then transcribe everything back into this kind of beaker-like thing, and you pour it back into a bottle that they will eventually help you seal. It's a very cool and just very experiential process. So after you pour it into the bottle, which you will take home, you just seal it off with a few angel tears, as they call it, which is basically scentless, I believe, and alcohol based, and also a little bit of water. So here I'm just filling it up with a little bit of water to fill up the last bit, and now he's just helping me put on the lid, and last but not least, doing the final press to kind of really seal the bottle. And I would say that the big bulk of time was allocated to experiencing the scents and just deciding what you actually like.
So now let's just address some of the fragrance myths that I have heard and I feel like isn't too accurate, but I just list a few. The first one is fragrance never goes bad, in terms of maybe there's no expiry, it's pretty much indefinite. Is that true?
It's a really interesting question because there are people who debate both ways. Look, the reality is that you need to store fragrance in the right conditions, and so typically that's out of the heat.
Yep.
So that's out of the bathroom, if possible, and out of direct sunlight, which will definitely extend the life of the fragrance. In terms of fragrance going bad, you definitely find, again, your most volatile ingredients, the top notes, are gonna be the ones to go first. If something were to go, it might not be the whole fragrance composition, it might be aspects of it. 2 years is at least a fair time frame for fragrance to last. But you would find many fragrances last for longer than that if you store them in the right conditions.
The second one is, like how females especially, we love to test a lot of fragrance and we rub our wrists together, even trying it at home. Is this true that doing it in that manner is the best way?
It's not the best way to do it. So it is a little bit of a behaviour that we do, and certainly you can continue to do it, but pat. As opposed to rub. Because especially those more volatile notes that we spoke about, some people refer to you as bruising, potentially bruising the molecules. So to avoid bruising the molecules, or to really rubbing off those delicate top notes, just rather dab it. I know that already when you apply it to your skin, there's warmth under your skin, and that's going to help the fragrance to evaporate, as well as typically ethanol that's used inside fragrance, which is also as a catalyst that helps to evaporate it. So you don't really need to rub it at all.
So the third one is the common labeling between fragrance we generally have are like perfumes and colognes.
Yes.
Is there generally kind of that distinction that needs to be made, or are fragrance just basically unisex throughout regardless of what it's labeled as? Because typically in the market it's distinct as colognes and perfumes. So whether or not it's necessary for consumers to look at it in that manner, or is it just based on smell? And if it's a cologne that a woman likes, is it okay for her to use a cologne, or how does it kind of work?
Oh, absolutely. So by a very objective letter of chemistry or human experience with fragrance, there's no such thing as a male ingredient or a female ingredient. It's really just styles that we've chosen to embrace, or styles that we might consider as male or female. So definitely in terms of modern fine fragrances that we find on the shelves today, the female category is a little bit more daring, it's a little bit more creative as compared to the male. But certainly you shouldn't feel
boxed up,
or whether you should choose a male fragrance if that's a bad thing. I don't think that's a bad thing at all. I think today, these days, we're very much driven by the look of a box or the colour of the bottle and so forth. So I think these sort of things also appeal to us, which might draw us into fragrance. Definitely go for that fragrance, that style that appeals to you, that makes you feel good, rather based on the fragrance style as opposed to what the bottle looks like.
Yeah, so true, and that really cleared up a lot of things for me, just because we're typically swayed by a lot of influencers. So yes, thank you for answering.
My pleasure.
Okay, so that's how the whole fragrance making process went, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. I really did enjoy myself. Thank you so much for letting me go through all this.
Absolutely.
And I hope to come back again, because I can't wait to try everything and just basically experiment with different kind of profiles. It really is an experience. So I hope you guys are interested in OoLaLab, and if you are, I have details in my description box on a giveaway kindly sponsored by OoLaLab. And so with that, I'll just end my video and see you guys in the next one.
Thank you. See you guys.
Bye!